So let's now move on and proceed towards containerizing the application. So we're gonna use a Docker configuration. We're gonna create a Docker file in our project's root directory, and we'll use this Docker configuration in the Google Cloud Platform to submit a cloud build, right? So let's first of all see how we can containerize the application. So very much in your project's root directory itself, let's create one new file, and the Docker file comes with no configuration. So name of the file itself is going to be Dockerfile, right? So this is how you come up and create your Dockerfile configuration. So you get to see now there is this file called the Docker file. It's created here, the Docker file. Now in the Docker file, the configuration, we need to first of all come up and use the official Maven Java 8 image so that we can build the artifact, right? And it is going to be from the hub.docker. You can even use the Docker documentation to come up and write these Docker configuration files. So let's write the first step, which is, so this is going to be a comment. So we're going to use official Maven Java 8 image to create the build artifact, right? So that is what we're gonna use. So we're gonna come here and say from Maven 3.8, and we got the JDK 11 as builder, right? So this is our very first, configuration instruction. So from the Maven 3.8 JDK 11 as builder, right? Next is where I'm going to come up and copy the local code to container image. So this is our next step which we're gonna do. So our work directory is going to be the app, and we're gonna copy our configuration file, which is pom.xml. Then we're gonna come up and copy our entire source directory, right? So we'll copy it to the src directory. So you need to copy your local code to the container image. That is our next step. So moving ahead, we would like to come up and build an artifact which should be in the release mode, right? So let's say build a release artifact. So in order to do this, we're gonna run a Maven command. So you say run mvn, and we're gonna package. So in this packaging step, we're gonna come up and skip the tests. So building the release artifact, so we are just going to package where we're gonna skip the tests. Now the next is to use the adopt open JDK for the base image. So it's pretty much important to use the open JDK, or maybe JDK 8 or above, so that we can have the container support enabled, right? So we're gonna use adopt open JDK for the base image. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just use this from. So we got adopt open JDK, and then we are going to use the open JDK 11, and we got this Alpine JRE. So it's pretty much small input here, that this is kind of, you can say, one small update in the Docker file where we wish to use our OpenJDK JRE coming up here. Now the next step is where we will be working on copy of the jar file to the production image from the builder stage. So let's say copy jar from or to the production image from the builder stage. And in order to do that, so we use our copy command, where from we're gonna say builder, right? So you're gonna copy from the builder to the app, and we got a target. So in the target, I got my jar file. So name of my project here, right? So if you see, we are using this restaurants. So I'm just gonna say restaurants hyphen star dot jar, right? So all the jar files. Then we got this restaurants dot jar. Now this is my another command copy of the jar, right? So we got our restaurants jar copied as our restaurants dot jar. Now lastly, the exact last thing is that we need to run the web service whenever the container will start, right? So run the web service whenever container starts. So this running of the web service when you wanna start your container, right, is typically execution of your web service, so that on the root you get to see welcome, and on the restaurants you get to see a JSON of the restaurants menu coming up. So this command goes like, so the command is going to be Java. So with the Java, so in Java you will execute everything with the Java command, right? So we need to optionally come here and pass one more security configuration, right? So this is java.security.egd, which I'm going to pass. So it's a JVM property which will affect how the secure random class will initialize. So as there are several JVM properties, so we got this, Java security EGD. So I'm just gonna write that. So we got hyphen D, and we got this java dot security dot egd. So if you want, you can just see more on it, right? So what exactly it will do with respect to the JVM part. So file is going to be slash dev slash dot slash urandom. So guys, once again, this is a JVM configuration which we are doing, right? So this file is going to contain a secure random source property. So generally we will be using this one, small configuration when you're writing this Docker. Then my next one is going to be the jar. So what is the jar file which you are going to come up and execute? So the jar file is this slash restaurants.jar. So very quickly, a quick overview on to the containerization. So from the Maven, we got 3.8 JDK11 as builder. So next we need to do some copy operations from my work directory, which is the app. We want to come up and copy the pom.xml and the src. Then we are going to run the Maven package. So Maven package is important because it's gonna come up and package your application as jar. So here from the adopt open JDK, you're gonna come up and copy from your builder the jar file as restaurants.jar. And finally what you want to do is that whenever your container is going to start up, so you need to execute this jar file. So you are going to execute java jar restaurants.jar, but you are just giving one JVM property for the secure random class in the JVM, right? So this is what we got as in our Dockerfile configuration, guys. Now since you have configured this Dockerfile, and if you will come back to the cloud source repositories here, right? So this is our cloud source repositories which we created. What I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna put this file. So let me come here. So I got this my Docker file. So I'm gonna come here and put it back in our cloned repository, right? So this was our cloned repository. Now if you come here, and once again if you will see the git status, so you got a Docker file, right? So let's say git add, and now you will see git status. So you get to see a new Docker file configuration added up. So let's say git commit -m docker container configuration, and then I'm gonna see your git push hyphen u origin master. So instead of you using the GitHub or maybe the Bitbucket, you are using this cloud source repository, and we have our restaurants application code available on the Google Cloud Source repository, right? So let me come here in the so now you see this Docker file coming up here, right? So it's exact the same configuration which you can see. So this is what we got, right? So containerizing the app with the Docker file. So in the next part, we're gonna come up and see how we can work on the cloud build, where we'll be using the triggers as well to fire the build. So we're gonna see how we're gonna fire the cloud build first of all with the Docker configuration, and then using the trigger, how you can exactly come up and fire the build.